big? Yeah. What gun is that? How big is that gun?
88, Pak 41, 43. Now, if you have a look at this, this is the map of Omaha Beach. And we drove down the beach here, down exit Dog 1, and we drove along the way. The Hamel au Prêtre, just here is where I showed you the house. And we came along to exit Dog 3 just here, and this is where I was telling you that the German bunkers were mostly clustered around the base of the exits. We drove further along, we had coffee just down here, almost at exit Easy 1, and after coffee we drove down. I showed you the bunker here at Easy 1, and we drove back along the way here. Came up here at exit Dog 3, and went up around the back just here of Les Moulins, which is where I showed you the machine gun nest a little minute ago. Came back down again, drove along the beach here, stopped just here to show you the Hamel au Prêtre, came down here, and we've now stopped just here, exit Dog 1. There were 5 of these exits the American forces were trying to capture and use on D-Day. Dog 1, Dog 3, Easy 1, Easy 3, Fox 1. The red blobs on the map are the German bunker complexes, but you can see they are all only and exclusively clustered around the base of the exits themselves. There's actually large gaps in between these beach exits where there was no German defences at all. Now on paper this didn't really matter. Plan was on D-Day, Air Force come along and bomb the beach, Navy come along, shell the beach. This would knock out the German bunkers on the beach, kill, wound or stun the German gun crews in them to a point where they couldn't fight. Hopefully destroy some of the barbed wire, the minefields and the obstacles the Germans have put on the beach. Then the infantry would come along, they would land on the beach opposite each one of these exits, the German bunkers would be destroyed and they would push on up the exits simultaneously to move on inland. And nowhere did this plan actually work. You can see on the next map here, again, Dog 1, Dog 3, Easy 1, Easy 3 and Fox 1. The red blobs, again, the German bunker complexes. The blue blobs, in this case, being where the American breakthroughs were made. This is why friendly fire is sometimes referred to as blue on blue. On a military map, the bad guys, the enemy, are always in red, and the good guys, which is you guys, are always in blue. This is where I told you Norman Cotta made his breakthrough. About 600 yards, about 1/3 of a mile up from exit Dog 3 and about 2/3 of a mile down from exit Dog 1, just about here. Once he'd got to the top, Cotta took most of the guys with him, came along here and actually ended up coming down exit Dog 1 just here behind you to actually reduce the German bunkers on the beach by taking them from behind. The first clanger in Saving Private Ryan is that the first American soldier to move through the exit is a private with a rifle working his way up from the bottom, because in reality it was a general with a pistol walking his way down from the top. But who might criticise the great Spielberg? Stand over there in the corner, turn around and face down the beach, please. This is a German Pak 41, 43, 88mm anti-tank gun in its bunker. 1944, the gun would have been sticking out with the muzzle of the gun coming out to about here. It's now been pushed back into the bunker because, God forbid, you could get inside and have any fun. But this is roughly what you would have been looking at in 1944. This guy took his picture from inside the bunker. You can see the tide is pretty much fully in. The muzzle, the barrel of the gun running down here, the road running down here just inside of it. And then the next picture the guy took in his roll, and you can see is this one here. And you can see, again, the road running along here, the muzzle of the gun and the bluffs running up behind it. And you may well look at it and you go, yeah, brilliant. How do we know you're not full of it? It doesn't look anything like that today. Very true, it doesn't. But you can still see the nick in the cliff here and the 2 little nicks just on the right-hand side of it, which should go to show you that even though this place looks nothing like it did in 1944, you are actually looking at the same place today. But, come up here, please. I want you to stand just here in front of me, and again I want you to turn around and face the bunker. This is a rather cool picture here. It's pretty self-explanatory. There's a number of things in it you might not notice at first glance. These 2 guys here, who are over where you were a minute ago, either they're about 4'6" high and the wall is the same height it was in 1944, or far more likely they're closer to 6 feet tall and the wall is actually a hell of a lot shorter than it was in 1944. You can also see the wall was originally stepped and it's now been smoothed off. Most of the stuff you guys sitting on it when you're here in the summertime. You can see the barrel of the gun sticking out as it would have been originally. But the one thing that you can't see today is this, which is on either side of the aperture. It's not concrete, which is what the bunker is made out of. This is actually local stone. The Germans are going to a lot of trouble to camouflage their bunkers, in a lot of cases facing them with local stone to make them look like houses, putting little false roofs on them as well. And this is some of the German camouflage they'd put on the bunker. But the bit which you probably didn't notice, and the interesting bit, is this here, which is the hole above the aperture. And you can see today where they've patched it up. This is one of your tanks, 743rd Tank Battalion's A Company, landed about 500 yards down the beach here to your right-hand side, shortly after noon on June 6, 1944, at about 10 past midday. Driver came ashore out of his landing craft and immediately drove his tank into a runnel of water on the beach, and he swamped the engine and the engine conked out. And the driver spent about 10 minutes trying to get it going again. Although the Sherman tank was a very reliable tank, there's one Achilles heel, mechanically speaking, is the engine could be notoriously difficult to start. And it took the driver about 10 minutes to get the engine going. While he was doing this, the gunner was looking around, and the gunner was trying to spot where the anti-tank fire was coming from. By the time the driver got the engine going, the gunner had located this bunker as being the main source of the anti-tank fire. How the hell did it take him 10 minutes? You can't miss it. Well, you can't today, but you could in 1944, because it didn't look like this, but I will show you what it did look like in a minute. Suffice it to say that although the gunner was very well trained, he'd never been in combat before, he had no experience. Going into battle for the first time, you need to pick a good average range for the main gun on your Sherman tank. Good average range for the main gun on a Sherman tank, 800 yards. The trouble is, this guy's only 500 yards away. He's had 10 minutes to get it right, but he completely forgot to reset the sights on the main gun on his tank. The guy got the engine going, the gunner stamped on the floor traverse, swung the turret around to the right-hand side, lined up the crosshairs on the aperture of the bunker, but had forgotten to set his sights, or to reset his sights. When he fired his shot, the shot whistled in about 3.5 feet high and blew the chunk out of the roof slab. Now, normally the Germans are not renowned for their opportunity of giving people a second bite of the cherry in situations like this, but in this particular circumstance it was the Germans' own handiwork that was to prove their undoing. Although the shot which slammed into the roof slab didn't actually do any damage to the inside of the bunker or to the gun crew, it did dislodge a large slab of this stone concrete camouflage which originally extended across the top of the aperture here. This slab of stone concrete camouflage promptly crashed down onto the barrel of the gun, pinning it to the ground, ensuring that the Germans inside the bunker were unable to bring the gun to bear. The gunner in the tank went, "Oh crap." The loader got another round in. The gunner got his sights set properly, and probably not a mistake he made twice in his life again, fired his next shot, which whistled straight in through the front of the bunker and hit the back inside left-hand wall of the bunker looking in, which is the back inside right-hand wall of the bunker looking out. But you can see all the pock marks here on the wall from the shrapnel dinging around inside the bunker, killing the gun crew. You can unfortunately see the number of empty 88mm shell casings on the floor of the bunker. This gun wasn't finally knocked out until 20 past midday on June the 6th. That is 10 minutes short of 6 hours after the landings had started. By the time it was finally knocked out, this gun had fired over 230 rounds of its full complement of 250 rounds of 88mm ammunition. It had knocked out more than 20 tanks on the beach down here behind you, had sunk 2 LSI landing ships, LSI 91 and LSI 92, at 700 and 900 meters down the beach respectively, and this one gun on its own is estimated to have caused more than 10% of all the casualties taken by the American forces here on Omaha Beach. Yet you can see it is less than 50 feet from the high water mark. There had been American forces at the bottom of the wall here in front of you for the previously 5 hours and 50 minutes to this gun being knocked out. These guys, shell-shocked, leaderless, going into the early stages of hypothermia and completely unable to do anything about this main gun firing away less than 50 feet above their heads. As you come down here to where this little signpost is on the left-hand side of the main road,